Morning. We've just parked up Chapel Bridge, Newlands Valley, where we're going to head up High Snab Bank onto the ridge of Robinson. When we reach the summit of Robinson, I'm not quite sure where we're going to head. We haven't quite decided, but my plans are to drop down Buttermere Moss into the Newlands Oars and then head over Knott Rig. Just me and Billy today. There he is, absolutely beautiful morning. It's a bluebird day. We got rain coming in later and then tomorrow for a couple of days. I've not been in the valley since my stepdad passed away last August, so it was a little bit emotional going in the church. My stepdad's final resting place. He grew up in Portinscale. There you go. This one's for you. Head through the gate after the cottages and it'll take you up onto High Snab Bank, which is right there in front of us, and Robinson above it. So this is High Snab Bank, just here at the corner of the wall. We're going to head steeply up the hill. It's a sharp ascent, steep, but it gets us up there quick. So that's us at the top of High Snab Bank, and we now have a lovely ridge walk all the way to the summit of Robinson. A few scrambles in among it. It's an absolute cracking ridge. Go on. Go on, good boy. So that's us high above all the scrambling, and we're now on the summit plateau of Robinson, just above Robinson Crags here. I'm going to give you a pan round, starting with what's in front of us. We've got Crummockwater. Behind Crummockwater we've got Melbreck. This side of Crummockwater we've got Ranadale Knotts. Running up the ridge of Whiteless Pike. Behind Whiteless Pike we've got Grassmoor. Dropping down onto Crag Hill. Sale. Peeking up behind Sale you can see Grisdale Pike. Dropping down Scar Crags. Causey Pike. Skidded in the distance, and Blencathra. Down here we've got the valley of Keskerdale. Above that we've got Ard Crags and Knott Rig in the foreground, and the Newlands Pass. Other side of us we've got Scope End, Catbells, Blencathra, Great Mel Fell. And then we've got the long ridge from Cloughhead all the way to Helvellyn. And in the foreground here we've got the summit of Hindscarth. We just had a much needed rest, flew that drone out. That first cairn there signifies the top of the ridge, and we're now heading up to the summit of Robinson. Robinson summit, 737 metres. It's a Wainwright, a Burkitt, a Hewitt, a Nuttall and a Madeline. So from the summit we're going to drop down this path in the direction of the Newlands Hawes. We're going to cross over High Knott Rig, which I'll have a crack with you about later because it's one of my favourite little fells for a reason. From High Knott Rig we're going to drop down to the Hawes and then back up to Knott Rig, and then from Knott Rig I'm not sure, we might drop down Keskerdale Edge or we might head up to Ard Crags and come down off Knott. So yeah, we've got a big descent to do, about 400 metres down to the hawse, and then another 200 metres back up to Knott Rig. That's Knott Rig below us, straight in front of us. It looks down on the village of Buttermere and over Ranadale Knotts and Crummockwater. We're down on Buttermere Moss now, and I just brought Billy down here. Came off the path a little bit because I found this little pool for him to have a drink and maybe a dip, but he ain't gonna go in there. It's very deep. I just poked my stick in and it's a lot deeper than it actually even looks. Right then, we'll cross over the moss to Knott Rig. One of the reasons I chose this route today was because I knew there'd be plenty water down here for Billy, and I know there's water down in Newlands Hawse. Even once we get over the top of Knott Rig and Ard Crags, there's water down below Knott in the valley. Also, the other reason is I've done these fells multiple times, but I've never actually put them together in this route, so I thought I'd give it a go. I know there's a lot of ascent and descent, but we're kind of getting used to that, so it's just lovely over here. Absolutely beautiful on the moss, nice and quiet, remote. Had I gone by Hindscarth, there would have been no water at all on that ridge for Billy, and had I gone by Derwent, it would have been a long way before we reached Derwent town and got to some water there. So yeah, really got to think about Billy and got to think about water when it gets warm like this. And this is the first cotton grass I've seen this year. Lovely. Knott Rig summit, 526 metres. It's a Burkitt, and the reason it's one of my favourite little hills is because of that view over Crummockwater and Ranadale Knotts. The perfect sunset location. There's Buttermere village below us and the end of Buttermere Lake. Above it, Red Pike, High Stile and High Crag. What a perfect little hill for a wild camper. Just below us there we've got two little tarns. Robinson now behind us, and just across the ridge below us we've got the top of Mossforce waterfall, where you'll find some lovely clean fresh water. We're only 200 metres above the Newlands Pass, so not much ascent. You could be up here in 30 minutes, 40 minutes maximum. So we're just going to go down the path here to our left, which would drop you into Buttermere, but we're not actually going down this way. We're just gonna go and get a little bit of a viewpoint, do a bit of time lapse, maybe fly the drone and have a drink. So just ignore this little deviation. We're going to head back up and then across the rest of the ridge and then drop down by the waterfall. So that's it, we're back up now, heading over to the top of the waterfall, Moss Force. So there's the Newlands Ard straight ahead of us, and the ridge up to Knott Rig. We've got a little bit of cloud cover now, so it's cooled down a lot, which is really nice. Not too hot for Billy now. And this little vague path here to our left drops down through these little bits of crags and rocks, is our route off. Just here. Come on, lad. It's a decent way up and a decent way down, but it's very steep, but it's not for long. As you can see below me, the cars and the pass just to my right there, the car park. It's not too far to get into the bottom. Just before we hit the bottom here, we're going to turn right and do an out and back to the waterfall so Billy can get a bit of a cool down and a drink before we start heading up there. So there's not much water in the waterfall, but there is a nice little plunge pool here. Look at that. Well, that was a nice little cool down, although he wouldn't go in because it was too deep for him. He slipped at one point and had to kind of rescue himself, and once that happens, that's it, no more. As you've seen in Loch Lomond, he ain't much of a swimmer. Right then, across the car park and the road and straight up the ridge. Whew. So it's a sharp pull back up. The other side will soon pull back them 200 metres that we lost. We're not too far from the summit of Knott Rig now. There's the pass below us. Knott Rig, incidentally, was one of Billy's first Wainwrights. I carried him up here when he was about 3 months old, as I did a lot of his first Wainwrights. He started very early, only about 12 weeks old, but I used to carry him everywhere, so we got a good chunk of them done before he was actually at the age where he should have been on them. I do believe them first few months when I was carrying him about made him the dog he is, give him the confidence. He's 100% in his comfort zone on the mountains. He hates roads, he hates traffic, he doesn't like swimming, he doesn't like busy places, but he loves people. But up on the hills, he is 100% happy. Aren't you, lad? All of them things a bit like me, I guess. Knott Rig and Robinson now far behind us in the distance. Knott Rig summit, 556 metres. It's a Wainwright and a Burkitt. We'll cross another little summit before we hit Ard Crags, Hill Crag, Newlands, or Knott Rig's north top. It's a Burkitt if you're bagging Burkitts. Knott Rig's Hill Crag, 546 metres, 10 metres lower than Knott Rig's true summit, and it's a Burkitt. Most people won't even know it's here. The crags of Ard Crags. Drops down from the summit all the way down this gale. That's Keskerdale Farm in the bottom. Keskerdale Edge. We could have came down from Knott Rig if we'd wanted to, but we opted to stay up. Ard Crags summit, 581 metres. It's a Wainwright, a Burkitt and a hump. And there's the little summit cairn. We're going to follow the ridge along to the end, another little hill called Aching Knot, and then drop down off the end, which will take us somewhere near to where we parked at Chapel Bridge. It's all downhill now. We'll drop off the end here down to Aching Knot and then eventually back down into Newlands Valley. So this little hillock here is Aching Knot, 473 metres, and it ain't the only thing that's taken. We're going to drop steeply off the end of it into Rigg for another much needed dip in water. There's the summit, marked by nothing, just a bare bit of grass. It's a singe, and look how steep it is off the end of here. Our route takes us to the left. You can just see a faint path running to the left off the ridge, drops down into Rigg. That's one tough descent, an absolute knee buster. Whew. I'm pleased we're down. Not far off the beck now. Billy's down there somewhere. There he is. He's found himself a little friend, look. He's a bit more concerned about getting into water than he is playing with his new friend. Go on, lad. Go on. The footpath's over the other side of the beck, just up the bank there a bit. We'll follow the beck downstream till we get to an old wall, and we'll cross it just here. This'll do. At the bottom of the valley here, we're going to pass through a disused quarry where you can park, and then we're going to cross the road and follow up where that little van's gone, if you can see it, and then about a quarter of a mile up that road we'll be back at Chapel Bridge. I'm going to wrap my video up now before we get back down to the road. By the time we get back to Chapel Bridge, the walk will have been about 8.5 to 9 miles. Fantastic walk, a great day for it. Big ascent again. By the time we get back, we'll have done about 3,500 foot of ascent again. So yeah, thank you from me, and thank you from our lad Billy the rock star, who's kind of tired, I think. Are you tired? So from Little Town in Newlands Valley, we head out the car park from Chapel Bridge. Passing Newlands Church, we then head on to the ridge of High Snab Bank. Crossing the ridge of High Snab Bank, we eventually reach the summit plateau of Robinson. Crossing the plateau to Robinson's summit. From the summit we dropped down to Buttermere Moss and crossed over to High Knott Rig. From the summit of High Knott Rig we dropped down to Mossforce waterfall just for a little view, and then dropped into the pass of Newlands Hawes. Steeply heading up to the summit of Knott Rig, we then crossed its ridge to the summit of Ard Crags. From the summit of Ard Crags we dropped down to Aching Knott, and then dropped off the side of the fell to Rigg Beck. Following the beck, back to the road and back to Chapel Bridge.